Well, I've always had a love of animals. I mean, animals have always been my thing. I mean, I'm just an animal lover, period.
As acre after acre of Florida's land continues to be developed each day, the preservation of our natural green spaces is more important than ever. Kelly Fulford of Odessa has watched her fair share of rural pastures become strip malls and subdivisions. But through a partnership with Hillsborough County, a piece of old Florida heritage is ensuring that these environmentally sensitive areas will be here for generations to come.
I'm not a Florida native. I actually was born in Rhode Island, but I've lived here since I was 8. I have no agricultural background. Did not grow up in agriculture at all. I always had horses and rode horses, but that was as far as it went. So when I met my husband is kind of when I was really introduced to agriculture and cattle, and his family's always had cattle.
Kelly and her husband Matt began with a small herd of Brahma cattle under the name Southwest Cattle Company before restructuring the company into Rocking K in 2010 with Kelly as owner-operator. The work was challenging but rewarding.
I didn't know anything about a cow or the health of a cow, or it used to just really blow my mind. Like my husband could just be like, could tell the cows apart, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that one was sick, you know, yesterday, and she's still sick today, and I'm like, what? Like, that one looks like the other 100 head there. How do you know that? How do you know that? So that just took time and just really figuring that all out. But yeah, there was a learning curve for sure.
Rocking K has now grown into an operation of 800 Brangus and Brayford cattle that stands out for its sustainable ranching practices. Along the way, Kelly has made sure to share her passion for cattle with the next generation, including her son, Jack Fulford.
We grew up in a country lifestyle. We raised cattle. We worked on the ranch. Kelly was very influential in those times. She was always there. My father was always there. And it played a large role in my personal passion for the outdoors, my passion for agriculture, my passion for the beef industry.
Also assisting the operation is Lint Geralds, a longtime ranching partner and close family friend.
I've known Kelly for probably 26, 27 years. I've worked cattle around her for probably going on 25 years now. And it's always been related to cattle some way, form, or shape.
Today, Kelly's cattle graze on 1,600 acres of the Lake Francis Nature Preserve through an arrangement with the Hillsborough County Jan K. Platt Environmental Lands Acquisition and Protection Program, or ELAP, which unites conservationists and agricultural producers to save land from development.
The ELAP program was a grassroots program that was started back in 1987 by the citizens of Hillsborough County. We're one of the oldest local preservation programs in the state of Florida, and since then we have participated in the acquisition of over 65,000 acres right here in Hillsborough County.
That's an amazing program. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the program. They're able to come in and buy land and buy property and preserve it.
Kelly has got herself involved with a program with the county, these leases, and she is able to give that land a purpose.
Being owned by the county, most ELAP lands, like the Lake Francis Preserve, are open for the public to enjoy. Visitors can hike or ride horses through the preserve and are always delighted by the unique opportunity to see not only the natural wildlife, but also an active cattle ranch up close.
People utilize that property a lot. I mean, a lot of people hike. I have a lot of photographers, a lot of bird watchers, and they're always interested in the cattle.
It provides an experience like no other. I mean, you can go to a national park and everything, but you get to walk through a cattle ranch. You get to see how it's been being done in Florida for hundreds of years, and it's just a different experience than just walking through the woods.
Rocking K ensures the health of the preserve through the application of best management practices, or BMPs, which protect water quality, native plants, and wildlife. Chief among these is rotational grazing, the practice of regularly moving the herd to a different pasture to prevent the overgrazing of native grasses.
So every 2 weeks, I move them to a different pasture. So that gives the other pasture that they've been on, that gives it time to, it just gives it a break. It gives it time to regrow. You don't want them to eat it down to the ground. You know, you eat it down to the ground, again, there you go. So now you're gonna have to come in and replant that pasture, fertilize that pasture. I mean, that just helps, you know, it just helps save the pasture, and all of my pastures are cross-fenced.
Well, it's important to manage cattle that way. From the cow side of it, you get your best gains on going to new pastures. Okay, that helps with weed control. That helps with our native grasses. It's all around better for the environment and the cattle, just full circle for both parties.
You gotta imagine, it takes some finesse, it takes some real knowledge, some foresight to know what the land expects out of you and what it can do, what it can produce, and what it can sustain. So I would say for me and my observation that the pasture rotation plays the primary role in the success of that piece of property and that amount of cattle on it.
I mean, you definitely have to implement the rotational grazing, or you're just, you won't have any grass left.
She's done a great job. She's actually made a couple of improvements too, putting in Haemophila and other grasses to try to increase hay operations on the site, because it is all Bahia grass. So in the wintertime when the Bahia dies, Kelly now has her own hay there as well to feed her own cows.
We don't have to go out and purchase hay or worry about buying hay and getting it somewhere. So we have hay fields at one of our locations. So we grow and cut our own hay and bale our own hay to feed to the cows in the winter. Some of the things that I implement, some simple things like where I put out feed, hay, molasses, their salt and mineral boxes. You want to keep all of that away from your water source. If you have all that in one spot, that is where your cattle are going to spend 90% of their time. You want to keep all those things pretty much away from your water sources. Another thing I do is providing fresh water. So they're not going and drinking out of a bayhead, or a wetlands area. Provide them with a freshwater trough. You don't want them congregating in those areas either. I mean, stagnant water brings disease. It can bring lepto, it can bring liver flukes. So you don't want them hanging out in those areas either.
Another BMP that Rocking K implements is soil testing. To develop a better picture of the overall health of the pasture, soil samples are analyzed to determine exactly what nutrients are lacking and how much fertilizer is needed.
It'll tell you the levels of pH in the ground, of what kind of nutrients are in the ground, and what you need to put back, if you need to put anything back. It gives you a full report on where your soil's at, and if you need to add anything, and if you do, how much and what you need to add. We do use like a GPS system when we're putting out any kind of fertilizer or weed killer. It's set up in the tractor. It's showing you everywhere you're going, so that prevents any kind of overspray, meaning you're not going to go over the same area 2 and 3 times and keep putting the same chemical in the same spot. You also want to stay away from any of your natural water sources. You want to stay at least 50 feet away from a wetland or a bayhead. You don't want any chemicals or any runoff going into those bayheads.
Aside from being a steward of the land, Kelly also serves as a role model for the next generation of ranchers. Amongst Kelly's team are Lint's kids, Claire and Lash.
I think Kelly enjoys having my children around. I know some days it slows us down a little bit, but she knows the importance of that time, how it's going to impact those children in the future and the agriculture community in the future. Being able to have children involved in agriculture, 2% of agriculture feeds the other 98% of the world, and that's declining every day. So Kelly knows the importance of having those children come up in agriculture and getting a passion and a love and a desire for agriculture to be able to carry it on.
His kids are amazing. I mean, he brings them out there as early as he can. I mean, he's got them working and they love it. They have a passion for it. I mean, as soon as they're old enough, you don't even have to tell them. I mean, they've got a hot shot in their hand or they got a cow stick. They're pushing the cows up, they're filling out ear tags. I mean, they jump right in wherever they can to go to work.
Kelly's been a great example, I feel like, for the next generation. I have 2 daughters, a 16-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter, and they both look up to Miss Kelly. They look up to Miss Kelly not only as a woman, a classy woman, they look up to Kelly as a mother. Kelly has children, so they look up to Kelly as a mother. They look up to Kelly as a businesswoman, and they look up to Kelly as an environmentalist because of her work that she does.
It's great. It's great just to see the next generation coming up and to have that passion and to know, that they're going to carry this on. you know, that it's going to be in good hands, and they're going to keep carrying it on for us. Honestly, I do what I do because I love it. I do what I do, never wanting to be recognized for it, never expecting to be recognized for it. It's just what I do.